Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Mindset podcast. I'm Gedaliah Blum, and I am with my esteemed co-host, Nathalie Garson, business coach, mentor, and business strategist.
Hi, everyone.
We are now episode 5, and we are talking about our New Year's resolutions for our business. And for many people, they might say, why are you speaking about your New Year's resolution September 1st? And for those, the small tribe of Jews around the world understand that Rosh Hashanah, which actually means the New Year, is coming up very soon. And so this is a time where we believe that not only for the Jewish New Year, but for everybody, whether you're Jewish or not, this is a new year for everybody. The summer's over, the kids are back to school. You could get your head, your mindset back in the right place, get on a trajectory, and hopefully be a lot more successful than you were the previous year. So welcome, Nathalie. Thank you for joining me again for this number 5 podcast.
Thank you, Gedaliah. Thank you. I agree with you that the end of the summer is always, whether you have kids or not, whether you're Jewish or not, it's always the beginning of something new. September is always the beginning of something new. So those resolutions are going to help everyone.
Exactly. So we've both, to prepare for this podcast, we both went into our corners and thought really hard about 5 different New Year's resolutions that we both have. So you have 5, I have 5. So we're gonna switch back and forth. We're gonna do like a lightning round. Okay. So why don't you start off with your first one, and I'll go to my first and back and forth until we cover all 10.
Great. I love that. Great. That's a great idea. Number 1. So, of course, for me, the number 1 is always going to be connected to the Born to Do. What a surprise. And that's the first resolution that came on my list, which is something that I take upon myself as well. So it's not something that I tell everyone else to do and that I don't do myself. It's something that I really do myself, which is every time that I make a strategic decision in my business, I always check inside if it's aligned with my Born to Do. Now it sounds a little bit theoretical, or it sounds a little bit like, what do you mean? Like, how do you do it concretely, right? Without the big words, right? Well, it's about introspection, and it's about understanding how when you make a strategic decision for your business, you are going to first check inside if it resonates with who you are and with your long-term goals. So you're
saying that your resolution, really, you're born to do, is really just taking the time every single month or every week or every day and just making sure that you're in line with where you want your business to go, where you are as a person.
I am saying that the Born to Do is not a one-time decision. It's a decision that you make every time that you have to make a choice of what product to offer, or what client to work with, or what prices to charge, or all those decisions that are, or what marketing messages to convey, which are decisions that we make every day in our business.
Right. And to learn more about the Born to Do, they can just go to your website, nathaliegarson.com.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that they can also look inside, because the Born to Do is it aligned with who I am? Is it aligned with what I really want to do? And sometimes we get lost in the process. Sometimes we say, oh, maybe I'll just, offer this one product, or, go to this one market for one time. And so this is the resolution that I take. And I think that every entrepreneur should always take, because that's being aligned with your strategy, and it's being aligned with who you are and who you want to be. So that's my first resolution.
Okay, great. So my turn is, number 1 is to manage my business more than I'm operating it.
Nice.
Meaning that in order to grow, you need to be able to take a step back and put people in place that are able to fulfill the obligations of your daily operations, so you could be more in a position to strategize, to see the bigger picture, be able to manage more people, to grow. And not only that, but to have a much more fulfilling experience. I think once you're in the weeds and working for yourself, sometimes you could lose the passion. So I'd say take a step back more. Let other people operate your business as you manage it, and you could then find more opportunities to grow, to network, whatever it is. Anyway, that's my number 2.
Wow. Okay. So I'm just going to,
I'm sorry, that's my number 1.
that's your number 1. And I'm
That's
just going to transition to my number 2, because since we didn't synchronize this, my number 2 was delegate. So you see, this is where we meet here. So I will just add to what you said, which I totally agree with, because if you are the owner of a business and you keep on doing all the operational work, then you're not here for the strategy and the long term. So I think that the next step would be hiring. And that, I think, is a resolution that every entrepreneur should, every time they start the business or they start a new phase of their business, think, where am I supposed to be focused on my business, and who can I hire? Now, about hiring, the resolution should be to decide very well who to hire and how to hire, because it's a very important decision in the business. So
sure.
Yeah.
And it's not just hiring employees. You could hire somebody to do projects. You could hire a virtual assistant. It's just taking one thing that maybe you is taking away from growth and giving it to someone else to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's what it is. Okay, great. So my number 2.
Yeah.
Now this is textbook business, but when you actually get down to it, most people don't do it. So I'm just reiterating what I should be doing is creating yearly, monthly, and yearly, quarterly, and monthly goals, and actually sticking to it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
not just sitting there and saying, okay, in the first year, I want to be able to sell X amount of widgets, right? And then say, okay, so what do I need to do each quarter? What kind of whatever, and then what do I have to do each month to do that? But really to really stay in line and put it on a board right in front of your computer at your desk, making sure that you are in line with your goals, your monthly, your quarterly, and your yearly goals.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. So my number 2, always aligning with what you're saying, because we're transitioning here, is to create a calendar, which could be definitely aligned with your calendar of goals, the quarterly goals, which would be a calendar of messages that you want to forward to people. So I usually talk about building a calendar on the pain points of your clients. So one good resolution could be, beginning of the year, you sit down, you make a list of all the pain points of your clients, and you translate those pain points into campaigns. And then you take the calendar year and you say, okay, each pain point is going to be a monthly or weekly or a bi-weekly. And you don't have to do this for the whole year, but you can do it for the quarter. So along with your goals that you have to, reach every quarter, I would say, attached to those goals, to those financial goals. That's what you were talking about, right? Financial goals. So attached to
it doesn't really, it could be, finance is definitely part of it, but it could, obviously there's
business goals, right? So attached to those goals, campaign calendar with the pain points. And that is something you should do every beginning. So beginning of the year, for sure, that's the great time to do it. So that's my number 3.
Right, because a lot of businesses, they end up not knowing what kind of message that they want to portray to their audience, and it's a lot easier to segment the different value added that you could bring to the client. So a campaign could be in the form of an article.
Yeah,
you could write an article, you could do videos, you could do a webinar that month, all in one thing, and then this way you're attracting, and your message is very, 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 very clear for 1 month, and then you go to the next month, write that. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. My number 3 is to, and this is kind of going against my grain, is to speak more publicly, to raise my professional profile, because unfortunately, as everybody knows, not everybody who is well known in their field is actually the best in their field. They're just very good at positioning themselves in a PR and a public relations situation. And so it's going to take, I think, good people who have good intentions to get out of their comfort zone, like myself, and to position myself more as a thought leader, and to speak more to groups, to conferences, and even write more. So
nice.
That's my number 3.
So get out of the hole. That's what you're saying. Like get out of the hole and go out there more, and speak to people, share your leadership, write about it, like get more exposure and get more visible.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if somebody's looking for somebody in your field who's at the top of your field, you want to be on that short list.
Yeah.
Right. And the only way to be on that short list is to put yourself out there and to get out of your comfort zone and say, okay, this is maybe about, it's not about ego, but it's kind of playing around with that a little bit. Like, who's to say I'm the best? Right.
Yeah.
So you put yourself out there. But on the other hand, if you're serious about growing your business, you need to grow your profile as well.
Right.
So that's my number 3.
So one of my resolution, and the resolution I'm sharing with everyone who is listening here, is learning how to say no. So learning how to say no to topics that are not your specific topic of expertise, learning how to say no to clients who are not in your specific field of ideal client, learning how to say no to so many things, because the more we're going to say no, the bigger our yes is going to be. And when your yes is big, that's when you get invited to speak. That's when you have the legitimacy to write. That's where you become an expert. So exactly.
Right. What is the saying? The jack of all trades and what is it? The master of nothing or something?
Yeah. That basically,
that's a perception.
Yeah, if you say yes to everything, that means that you don't have a specific field of expertise. And so if you want to be known, or if you want people to say, oh yeah, I would love you to speak on that topic, or I would love you to come and, teach us about something or share your, ideas about something, it has to be something specific that you can say, I'm the expert on. So my number 3 is, or is it 4 already? No, I think it's 4.
You're on number 4.
Yeah, my number 4 is learning how to say no. Learning how to say no is a huge, huge one in order to grow and to become the expert. Yeah.
Right. And learning how to say no is also enables you to focus on, not to be taken off your path and distracted. I mean, these yeses that people generally say because they want to take on other work because they see opportunity, more money, it's really taking them off their path. And their path is what is going to enable them to stay on their path, what is going to enable them to become more expert and to scale their business. Because you're not going to be able to scale something if you're constantly saying yes to things that aren't within your path, within your target.
Exactly. And I would even say that the real rule to do that is to choose one thing. It's to choose your one thing that you're the best at, that is your unique brilliance, and then to say, from this one thing, I'm going to develop my expertise around this. And that's
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of people aren't the best at things like this, but if they have a passion for it and they want to sit and learn and then really focus on it, that's how they're going to become an expert. So 20 years down the line, if you decided 20 years before that you wanted to become expert at something and focus on something, even if you weren't an expert at the time, now you have 20 years experience focusing on this segment. And now you are, so it's really about the long run, right? Yeah. It's really about it's not the short term. The short term, you have short-term considerations that some people are going to have to say yes to certain things, but obviously you want to minimize that as much as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So my number 4 is kind of like, again, it's a very obvious one. And now with smartphones and social media and distractions, it becomes much more difficult to do. But I think this is something that I want to do, which is to read a book at least once a month.
Yeah.
On business. Ideally once a week.
Yeah.
Reasonably maybe one book every 2 weeks. But if it's a slow month and you're really busy and distracted, then once a month. But there's so many great authors out there that write books in order to give them more credibility so they could go on speaking tours and get clients. So these may not be, million copies sold, but if you find a really great person who's speaking, who could be an inspiration for you, find out if they if they wrote a book. And it's not even just about inspiration. It's also more of the practical side of building a business. I mean, these are things that are constantly changing, and unless you stay on top of it, you're going to be working like they used to work 20 years ago, and
Yeah.
you're going to be a dinosaur, and the youngins are going to start running circles around you, and you're going to wonder what happened. Anyway, so read a book, read books. That's my
So
number 4.
this is where I'm happy that we didn't share our 5 resolutions before, because if we, if we hadn't, people would say, yes, of course you have shared, but we know that we haven't shared, right? So
Right, right.
my number 5 is write a book.
Ah, all right. So how about this? When you write a book, I'll read it, and then that will be my book. That'll be
Exactly.
one of my books.
Exactly, because that's on my resolution for this year. It's a book that I've started writing, and hopefully will take me less than a year to finish it. But
Okay.
I would say that every entrepreneur, and this goes back to your exposure and visibility, even if it's not writing a book, but it's putting everything you have in your head on paper. And then
Right.
after a while, it can become a book or it can become an article. For me, it's a book because I've been, thinking about what I want to write for a very, very long time. And so, yes, it's about, getting the people that know me to know me a little bit more. But I think that writing in general, so you were about reading and I'm about writing. And I think that writing in general, whether it's a blog, whether it's a post on Facebook, whether it's a book, whether it's an ebook, whether it's a
Right.
cheat sheet, it doesn't have to be a book right away, but I think that writing is going to build your expertise. And so that is, from my experience, setting time aside every week, blocking time for writing.
Right.
And then that happens, just like recording your videos, just like working on your marketing, you just have to set a time to write, to work on your writing. So
Right.
yeah.
And they say you really don't understand something unless you're able to teach it. Right.
Exactly.
So writing a book prepares yourself much more to be a much better expert, and to be able to find ways to communicate your thoughts and expertise much more clearly to people, because that's what you have in mind. You're writing things down and saying, does this make sense? Is my audience going to get it? Right.
Yeah, definitely.
And
It also gives a background that you can't always give when you speak, because when you
right.
speak you say the last thought, or you say whatever answers the question or in the discussion, but when you write you have time to give the whole background, to explain how it happened, and so people can identify more and say, oh, I see the result now, but now I also see what you had to go through in order to get to this result today. So,
Right.
so yeah, that's why I like to read the books, like you said, and that's why I'm hoping that my book will also inspire and teach others.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
All right. So my number 5, right? This
Yes.
is the last of total. So this is getting into, again, the mindset of abundance. Okay.
Yes.
Because when you're in the mindset of abundance, then you're the channels, and the channels in the universe open up, and it just comes in and out. So my number 5 is to work pro bono at least once a month for a client that needs it. Find a business that's struggling, that needs a website, that needs help with marketing strategy, and just help them. Say, listen, I've known that you're struggling, whatever it is. I know that you have challenges, and I know this is a difficult time, but every month I take on one client, and I do it because I love this work and I want you to succeed. And if you want to pay me in the future, if it's successful, then great. But there's nothing, there's no commitment here at all. I just want to help. This is part of my charity, right?
Okay.
So a lot of people, they'll give charity every month in cash or a check, and you can give your time, and that's also a form of charity. So that's my number 5, is work for free at least once a month for a client.
Wow, that's a huge one. Okay. And the mindset of abundance, I love it, because we have so much that we close here in our mindset that when we open, things happen. And we think that by working more, we're going to make things happen. But sometimes it's not the amount of work. It's how
No.
much you're able to open the mindset. So I love the number 5. Okay. So I think we got to we got to 10, and I think it's almost time to wrap up.
Okay, so I think that if we both end up, if our listeners or we end up doing at least 6 out of 10 of these,
well, we'll be happy. We'll be
we'll be
happy.
very happy. You
Yeah.
know what? the point is that there's so many things going on in life that you get curveballs here, you don't unexpected things there, you have these schedules, you have this, you have family, holidays, whatever it is, and it's really important to, I think, when you are making New Year's resolutions, to one of your New Year's resolutions should be to commit to something.
Yeah.
Because if you have, especially if you have commitment issues with doing things like this, you could write a list of 100 and you're not going to do any of them.
Right.
Right. But if you write a list of one and you focus on that one, like you said beforehand, creating content for your clients, what their pain points are once a month, maybe create a goal to stick with once a month, and eventually your behaviors will start shaping naturally around these tasks.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
so instead of saying, okay, I'm going to do all 5 of these every single month, maybe do one of them,
Yeah.
one a month for the next 5 months.
Another thing that works for me and that I also teach my clients is that whatever resolution you take and whatever goals that you set up for yourself, just write it in your calendar. That's one thing that, just whatever you say, let's say you say, I'm going to make a list of all my clients' pain point and create a calendar of content for the next 3 months, for example. Well,
Right.
you sit down and you take 1 hour, whether it's a week or every 2 weeks, and you write down in your calendar, I'm blocking this time to write on, work on my pain points or work on my marketing. Now,
Right.
when this is in your calendar and someone comes and says, oh, do you want to have coffee? Or you have to, take schedule an appointment with a dentist. Well, you see it. It's a meeting just like if you had a meeting with a client. And so there,
Exactly.
you can move it, maybe it's flexible, but at least it's never going to go away. So I think that I agree with you. The goals and the resolutions needs to be realistic. And then whatever you decide to do, and I do it myself. I have a calendar full of time that I work on specific issues, and just write it in your calendar and stick to it just like if it was a meeting with a client or a very important meeting that you couldn't move. So that's also a good tip.
So you're pretty much talking about taking away your free choice.
Don't worry. The mind.
Put in your calendar, and then you got to do it. That's it. You don't have any free choice anymore. You got to listen to the calendar. You got to live and die by your calendar, and that's it.
Well, I'll tell you what. This is the theory, but then when, like you said, when something happens, well, you move it around. But what
you have to prioritize.
Yeah, you have to prioritize. But at least it's in your calendar. You can move it around, and you don't forget about it. Because if it's in a list of things to do, and it's not translated into a task in your calendar, then you're just going to forget about it. So just try. It's called the block method. It's like having blocks in your day so that you know that you have a marketing block, a financial block, a client's block, and then your day is a kid's block. You could even have a family block, a fun block. Everything is blocks.
Right. Okay, great. So we have the Jewish New Year's coming up, Rosh Hashanah, and a lot of the non-Jewish audience here has the fall coming and all the kids back to school. So wishing everybody a happy new year and a happy return to somewhat normalcy.
Yeah. And
let's see, maybe we could have a follow-up on this podcast in about 6 months and see how we're doing with our five resolutions.
That would be a very good idea. Just taking ourselves accountable for our 5 resolutions. That would be a very good beginning, I think.
All right, so we'll block it out in our calendar in 6 months.
Yeah, we will. So yeah, I'm also wishing everyone, all of our listeners, a happy new year for the people that celebrate the Jewish New Year. And for those who don't, it's the beginning of the new school year. And it's always a great time to have, to make new resolutions. So we're very excited for this new beginning.